Hi, I'm Lars from All About Samsung, and today we're gonna have a first hands-on of the brand new Samsung Galaxy S20, S20 Plus and the Samsung Galaxy S20 Ultra. You got that right, the successor of the Galaxy S10 is here and it's not named S11, no, it's called Galaxy S20 series. Perfect for the year 2020, and Samsung is going big this year, because in some parts you had the idea that Samsung in the last couple of years fell behind of the competition, especially in terms of battery and in terms of camera. This year, the Samsung Galaxy S20 has two big focus. The focus 1 is on the battery and the focus 2 is on the camera, which has impressive hardware. So let's check out what the Samsung Galaxy S20 all about. Not much has changed on the front of the S20 series. A small round front camera sits on the display on all three devices with 10 megapixel on the S20 and S20 Plus and 40 megapixels on the S20 Ultra. The display size ranges from 6.2 inches on the S20 to 6.7 inches on the S20 Plus to a huge 6.9 inches on the S20 Ultra. It should not be forgotten that a resolution of 3200 by 1440 pixels, the displays are relatively long and almost borderless and therefore fit relatively well in hand. But with the Galaxy S20 Ultra, this could be too much for some users. In any case, the displays are excellent. Perfect colors, perfect viewing angles, very bright and HDR10 Plus certified. Also, the S20 series comes with 120 Hz. This means a high refresh rate. In simple terms, everything is much smoother that way if desired. However, this option is only available within Full HD Plus resolution, so you have to choose between a high resolution or a high refresh rate. Very smooth is cool, but hardly visible to me. A higher resolution is also important for some people, but hardly visible in everyday life to me. I personally do without both and get even more out of the battery, but it's still very nice to have the options. It's noticeable that the S20 series has no large edge on the front this year. The displays are only slightly rounded at the very edge, that should please some users. The metal frame is therefore a bit thicker. Samsung doesn't quite hide the 7.9mm on the S20, 7.8mm on the S20 Plus and even 8.8mm on the S20 Ultra. The S20 Ultra in particular is actually a bit thicker, which isn't really noticeable on such a large device. But it weighs 220 grams. That's a lot of weight, but you also have a lot of device here. By the way, Samsung again uses an in-display fingerprint sensor on all S20s, which unfortunately hasn't gotten any bigger. Allegedly, it remains the same scanner as in the Galaxy Note 10. In contrast, the backs of the device are immediately noticeable. Glass, here, also rounded on the edge, but what catches the eyes are the cameras. Especially the camera module on the Galaxy S20 Ultra is simply huge and still reaches out a good bit from the back. More details about the cameras later on, but you can already see on the back that Samsung has put a lot of focus on the camera. The Galaxy S20 and S20 Plus have the same camera, the S20 Ultra puts a shovel on it. You can choose between different colors, cloud blue, cloud pink, cloud grey on the S20, cloud blue, black and grey on the S20 Plus and grey or black on the S20 Ultra. So that's it about the design. First thing you have to notice is the backside and the huge camera. Of course, that might be not the taste for everyone, but you have to keep in mind that for the Samsung Galaxy A51 and A71, a lot of people mentioned the same. And especially for the Pixel 4 or for the iPhone 11 Pro, a lot of people mentioned the same. But after a while you get used to it and then the design of the backside might be fine. To me, I do like it, it's not that bad at all. Oh, and by the way, the S20 series features the same IP68 certification found on the S9 or S10 series. There's one minor flaw I'd like to mention, the fingerprint sensor. You have an in-display fingerprint sensor on the S20. Same as on the S10. On the S10 I didn't like it, but it was improved after a while by software updates. The fingerprint sensor was also found on the Note 10, and also on the Note 10 it was improved after a while by software updates. However, there were rumors that on the S20 the size of the fingerprint sensor would be improved. That's not the case. It's basically the same sensor as found on the Note 10. It's placed a little different and of course the software is improved another time, but the sensor itself is still the same. It's not a huger one, unfortunately. Samsung's Galaxy S series stands for high-end, and so does the S20 series. Unfortunately, there are still two processors under the hood. Depending on the region, there is the Snapdragon 865 or Exynos 990, both manufactured with 7nm and with plenty of power. But more power is not so exciting. The S20 and S20 Plus are also available with an optional 5G modem. The S20 Ultra even only has a 5G version. 5G will be the topic of the next few years and should be available in some major cities in 2020. The Galaxy S20 can be equipped with the new standard on request. But this could also be a sticking point for Samsung. In recent years, Samsung's SoC division has increasingly lost touch with Qualcomm's Snapdragon. With the Galaxy S10, this was particularly clear. The S10 with the Exynos lasted much less. Now, Samsung has even closed the Exynos division. The Exynos 990 is the last own SoC from the division. I'm very curious to see if the Exynos 990 can keep up with the Snapdragon 865 in terms of energy efficiency. The S20 has plenty of batteries under the hood. 4000 mAh for the S20, 4500 mAh for the S20 Plus and 5000 mAh for the S20 Ultra 5G. The huge batteries can be charged very quickly with 25 watts for the S20 and S20 Plus and even 45 watts for the S20 Ultra. Sure, 5G also needs more battery, but those who manage without 5G can hope for very long runtimes. As said before, provided that the Exynos 990 doesn't become the deal breaker in Germany as an example. Otherwise, there is 8GB of memory on the S20 and S20 Plus, 12GB in the respective 5G versions. The S20 Ultra will only be available as a 5G version, but ones with 12GB of memory and 128GB of storage, and ones as the end of the line with 16GB of memory and 512GB of internal storage. By the way, these are super fast LPDDR5 RAM, and on all S20s the internal storage can be expanded with a microSD card. So that's it about the hardware of the Galaxy S20. And of course, the S series again stands for high-end. And on the S20 you have everything in the smartphone you want to see in a 2020 flagship. There are two main focus points I'd like to mention. One of them is 5G. Possibly one of the most important topics of 2020. However, it's not that important to consumers, it will be very important for marketing. And if you want to have 5G in your smartphone in 2020, you have the option on the European version. You have the 5G and you have the 4G version, so you can opt if you want to have 5G or not. In other markets like the US or South Korea, In other markets like South Korea or the USA, you don't have this option because over there you will have the Snapdragon 865. This one always comes with a 5G modem, so I'm not sure if you're gonna have the choice between a 4G and a 5G version over there. However, the choice between the Exynos 990 and the Snapdragon 865 might be the biggest topic about the Galaxy S20. Because both are manufactured in 7nm. They're very modern SoCs and very powerful. However, the difference between the Exynos 990 and the Snapdragon 865 might be one of the most important parts of the Galaxy S20. Especially for the Galaxy S10, there was a huge difference in terms of energy efficiency. Like on the S10 with the Exynos version, the runtime was way worse than it was the case for the Galaxy S10 with the Snapdragon 855. I really do hope that this won't be the case on the Galaxy S20. Both SoCs are manufactured with 7nm. Both are very powerful, but at this point I really don't know how energy efficient they are. And I really do hope that the Exynos version doesn't fall behind of the Snapdragon version. So the rest of the hardware is fun, and especially the batteries are really huge. Now for the highlight of the S20 series. Samsung used to have a clear top position in smartphone cameras, but in the last 2 years, Huawei has taken the butter of Samsung's bread. With the S20 series, Samsung is now bringing back the ingredients to regain the camera throne. Although clear differences are also visible within the S20 series. Basically, the S20 and S20 Plus have the same camera configuration, while the S20 Ultra takes it a step further. First of all, the S20 and S20 Plus. Here, the main camera has 12 megapixels. These are huge 1.8 micrometer in size. This puts the pixel size at the level of much larger cameras. Large pixels mean a lot of light for each pixel. The camera this way promises excellent results in low light conditions. Since the sensor is quite large, the open aperture of f2.0 is also very good. There's also an ultra-wide angle with 12 megapixels and 1.4 micrometer pixels and an optical zoom lens with 64 megapixel sensor. The pixels of this sensor are quite tiny, and to avoid noise, usually 4 pixels are combined to 1 pixel. This is called pixel binning. The virtual big pixel of 4 pixels is of course better. In combination with a higher resolution, Samsung allows a hybrid 3x zoom and a 30x digital zoom. Sure, there are losses here, but the possibility is impressive. The S20 also has a depth sensor for a nice background blur, which is why Samsung speaks of a quadruple camera on the S20 Plus. Now for the absolute flagship, the S20 Ultra. The main camera here has an incredible 108 megapixels. Correctly here, 108. These are also quite tiny 0.8 micrometer pixels, but the sensor is really huge. Normally, 9 small pixels are combined to one huge pixel with 2.4 micrometers. I just have to emphasize those numbers here because these are incredible values for a smartphone. In addition, there's an open aperture of f1.8 in front of the huge sensor, extremely good. Samsung has a 12 megapixel ultra wide angle like in the other S20s here as well, but a zoom lens with a 48 megapixel sensor that combines 4 pixels. But the special feature is that this lens allows a 10-fold zoom. In combination with the high resolution, a 100 times zoom is possible here. That's absolutely nuts. Samsung also wants to take another step forward with the video function, make video recording on a professional level possible. The first impression was also very good, more in a later video. In any case, the cameras of all Galaxy S20 allow videos with or 8K resolution. The Exynos version has 24 frames per second, the Snapdragon version probably 30 frames per second. However, the video quality in 8K video is stunning. A short summary about the cameras. Huge sensors, like really huge sensors for a smartphone with a high pixel count and some partly very impressive zoom capabilities. Those cameras might be the cameras for smartphones in 2020. Of course, you have to see further tests to see how good they are. Besides from the photo capabilities, you do have 8K video in a smartphone in 2020. How great is that? You have the sharpest videos available. However, it's quite odd to see a difference between the Exynos and the Snapdragon version. The Exynos version maxes out at 24 frames per second at 8K resolution. The Snapdragon version gives you 30 frames per second at 8K resolution. However, I do know if this is because of different strong SoCs or it's because of different video standards in the US or in Europe. So that's it about our hands-on. The S20 series has the potential to bring Samsung back on the throne of the very high-end smartphones. The S20 and S20 Plus are impressive and impressively good, especially in terms of the camera. And the S20 Ultra, well, it's wicked. Samsung has stuffed basically everything in the device possible at the moment. All devices come with 5G on request, and add to this the camera, which at the moment is possibly one of the best on the market. You have to see further tests, of course, and you get a really great device. Now to the bad part, the price. Of course, you have here the flagships, and flagships cost you a bit extra. This was the case in the last year as well, but in the last couple of years the prices rose. So now the Galaxy S20, the small version with 6.2 inches, starts at 899 euro in Germany, adding 100 euro for the 5G version. Then there's the S20 Plus with 999 euro and another 100 euro for the 5G version. And you do have the S20 Ultra, the very top tier smartphone, starting at 1,349 euro and adding another 200 euro for the extra large version with 512 GB of storage and 16 GB of memory. So this is a lot of money, but you will get the best smartphone on the market at the moment. I'm really curious about the S20 Ultra and I'm gonna test it further, so be sure to follow us here on YouTube for further videos of the S20 series. I'm Lars from All About Samsung. Thanks for watching. See you next time. Bye.